Yo, yo, yo. It's another episode of Jets Talk with Umbro and Tom O. I'm your boy in the beanie, Mike Umbro. We've got Tom O to my left as always. Tom, how you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you doing, bro?
I'm doing very well. I am very excited. We've been doing coaching profiles. Obviously, the Jets fired Adam Gase. They're bringing in a new guy. Joe Douglas has been on the hunt. One of those guys is Brian Daboll, current offensive coordinator for the Bills. We're going to touch on his body of work and, what we think about him as the next potential Jets head coach here, starting, of course, with his body of work. So, Tom, little history lesson for you. As a coach, in 97, he was at William and Mary as a restrictive earnings coach. So nothing really, football related at the time. Graduate assistant at Michigan State. At New England, he was a defensive coaching assistant until 2001. Then he graduated, became a receivers coach with New England in 2002. Did that till 2006. Was the quarterbacks coach for the Jets between 07 and 08. Went to the Cleveland Browns as an OC in 2009 and 2010. After that, went to Miami as an OC in 2011. After that, went to the Chiefs as an OC in 2012. Became an offensive assistant at New England in 2013. Was a tight ends coach with the Patriots from 2014 to 2016. Alabama, he was a co-offensive coordinator and quarterbacks coach. And then with the Bills, he was an OC. And that's what he's doing currently. And what he's doing with Josh Allen is nothing short of ridiculous. So, Tom, obviously that's a very wide range body of work. He's obviously jumped around a lot, but we can tell that he has experience coaching on a lot of different positions on the offensive side of the ball, not just quarterbacks, but also skilled positions, tight ends, wide receivers. He also has had a few offensive coordinator stints as well throughout his time. So overall, what do you make of his body of work? And, is he ready to be a head coach? Does a lot of this translate?
He's ready to be a head coach. He's had his experience, especially at a point now where he's been on 4 different teams as an offensive coordinator. So he showed his ability to, make plays or call plays and actually do all that. One fun fact, actually, as well, the man has won 5 Super Bowl rings. He has 5 Super Bowl rings and a national championship. So if we're talking about winners, that's a real winner right there. And we love to see that. So I think he's got a great body of work, great experience, really.
Yeah, what I do love is his ability to coach more than just one position. Yes, he's been a quarterback's coach, but at the same time, I think you can see it translating to the Bills now. He's not able to just coach up Josh Allen to the point where he's at. You can tell his receivers are doing well for him. He's coaching up these receivers. Dawson Knox is kind of like one of these up-and-coming tight ends that we're starting to see. True red zone target. Obviously, I'm sure he's coaching him up as well. So he's getting all of these skill guys to be on the same page as Josh Allen, and that's obviously playing into a factor with Josh Allen and his improvement as well. And that's a guy we've seen get better every single year. Those are the positives that I really like. And obviously he has he's been an offensive coordinator. He's been a position coach with receivers, tight ends, not to get repetitive, but that screams I'm ready for me. But again, it's kind of the same thing with Eric Bieniemy. He doesn't have any experience on the defensive side of the ball. Does that scare you at all?
Not as much, no. I personally am a believer in offensive-minded head coaches. I used to be the opposite of that, but I think that football has kind of just changed at this point, and I think that he showed the ability to adapt to his roster, and I think that goes such a long way, especially when we're talking about a team like the Jets that have so many of these holes. One of the stats I actually wrote down, which I really liked, is he became the Bills' offensive coordinator in 2018. Their first year, they were 30th in passing yards, 30th in points. That was the first year they got Josh Allen, right? 2019, they were 24th in total offense, and they got top 10 in rushing offense. What is that with Frank Gore and Singletary? So that's very impressive. And then you go into obviously this year, you see what the Bills are doing. You have an MVP candidate and the second best passing offense. So for me, he's shown improvement. He's shown the ability to adapt with his roster. And I think it's so impressive.
So what does this mean when it comes to potential assistant coaches now? Like, what do you see him doing at OC and what do you see him doing at defensive coordinator? And, what guys do you think would fit best with, what he would want to do? Obviously, you can tell he's 5 Super Bowl rings. Everywhere he goes, he just seems to win. He's under Bill Belichick. He's under Sean McDermott now, who's slowly but definitely, surely developing a winning culture over there as well. What do you think? Who do you think are the guys to come in and suit him in terms of like assistants, OC, DC?
I mean, I think for him, he's going to be wanting somebody to kind of have that Eric Bieniemy role as an offensive coordinator on his team. Obviously not actually Eric Bieniemy, but I'm saying like in the sense that he's going to be calling the plays, in my opinion, from what it seems like. So he's going to want a guy to come and, help groom the quarterback, help, especially if it's Sam Darnold or a new guy, either way. So yeah, I think that's kind of the move for him.
Definitely. Now, I guess we've already touched on the pros, right? A lot of Super Bowl rings, proven winner, ability to coach more than just one position around the offensive side of the ball. Somebody who comes from, really great coaching trees, proven winners. And, we think we think he's seen enough to kind of delegate. But do you have any questions or concerns regarding Brian Daboll and, his ability?
Yeah, I do. So number one, really just for me, kind of comes down to, I know I've been complimenting his ability to adapt with his roster, but he has shown in the past with, not necessarily as good of a roster where he hasn't done as well. For example, when he was on the Browns, his quarterbacks were Brady Quinn, Matt Castle. And then he went to Alabama. He had Tua, Jalen Hurts, and Josh Allen. So for me, I think that a really big thing, and that kind of concerns me a little bit, is obviously he's done great things with Josh Allen and the Bills. But, the first year there, and again, it was the first year, so it's very tough to, continue or just start from fresh and be that great. But really, once they started getting these weapons for him, like, Stephon Diggs, these other guys that really were able to do a lot more with the offense, then it showed how powerful, his play calling was and how good their offense actually was. So I guess my biggest concern is, what is he going to do when he comes into a Jets organization that has a questionable quarterback potentially, or a new one, and then kind of lacking those offensive weapons, those Swiss Army knives, if you will.
So you're basically doubting his ability to develop the talent that's already there.
Well, I don't want to say that, because I've complimented his ability to develop it. He's shown his ability to develop it, but it's like, if you don't have your quarterback, you're on such a short leash. If he comes in year one to the Jets, say Sam Darnold's still the quarterback, and they have 2 losing seasons in a row, he's done. So sometimes you don't have that kind of time, if that makes sense.
So to your point, right? I understand, like, Josh Allen didn't really take that massive step until this year, right?
Agreed.
And a lot of that can be attributed to Stephon Diggs, right? Credit to the Bills. Credit to Brandon Beane, right? Who made the move, got their guy. He's obviously opened up a lot of things on this offense, and I think he's made Josh Allen a little bit more comfortable of a passer, knowing that he has a number one guy he can just get the ball to. Let's say the Jets go into this next year without their Stephon Diggs. Regardless of who the quarterback is, can you see that offense thriving, or do you think that type of deal is what they're going to need in order to take a step up?
That's a good question. So I don't see them thriving. I don't think I see any situation where somebody's going in there and all of a sudden the Jets offense is thriving. I definitely believe that he can come in there and show immediate improvement to the team. But I wouldn't use the word thriving.
Okay. So with that being said, listen, I think his ceiling is a lot higher than Bieniemy's, if I'm being honest with you. He calls plays. He's developed talent at every skill position and quarterback. He comes from a great coaching tree, and the question really is, can he delegate? And who's he going to bring in at defensive coordinator, more importantly? Is it going to be, potentially Aaron Glenn from the Saints? Is it going to be, Marvin Lewis or one of these other guys that have been rumored to be interviewing with the Jets? So That to me is going to be the big question, because obviously, as much as we talk about the offense, that defense with Quinnen Williams and Marcus May even still, and we don't even know if Marcus May is going to resign yet. I'm sure he will, but that's a big piece to lose. That's a young defense, man. That's a very young, very inexperienced defense, and it showed, especially at linebacker and in the secondary. So that's the big question mark for me. And the next question, obviously, we're going to do this with every head coach. With this guy coming in, what's going to happen with Sam Darnold? Do you think Brian Daboll is the guy to right the ship with him, or do you think he moves on and goes to get his guy?
I think if anybody's going to do it to right the ship with Sam Darnold, it's Brian Daboll. I just like what it did with Josh Allen. I really do. I know we talked about, we gave him some weapons, all that, yada, yada, yada. In the end, he's a better quarterback than he was when he came in the league. And I think a lot of it is attributed to Brian Daboll. And I think he'll have the ability, with the right situations, with the right picks, with the right offseason moves to do the same thing with Sam Darnold or whatever the next quarterback is going to be as well.
So I guess my question is he going into, if he's hired, is he going into 2021 with Sam Darnold, or is he going in with his own guy? Straight up.
I think he's going straight up. I think it's going to be Sam Darnold if he's hired. I think it's going to be the other way for Bieniemy, as spoke about in the last video. But I think that this would be the guy to take on the reins of Sam Darnold and build around him.
So what do you do then if Sam Darnold's your guy? What do you do with that number 2 overall pick? Are you taking Penei Sewell? Are you trading down and accumulating picks, bringing in some new offensive weapons? Do you what's going on there? Because if Sam Darnold's your guy, that means you're not only going to pick up his 5th-year option and pay him that $25 million plus a year, you're going to commit to building him around him at the very least for the next 2 years. So overall, what do you think is the best move when it comes to the draft?
I think my answer. I think anybody who's watched all of our videos knows my answer. I'm obsessed with Penei Sewell and his play. It's my favorite left tackle I've ever watched tape on coming out of college. I think that you have a competent quarterback in Sam Darnold that has been put in a crappy situation. You give him some more protection that he already has with the first round pick from last year, Mekhi Becton, and you get a new offensive or a new head coach that I think can actually groom this man. I think it would go a long way.
So my thing is, right, as much as I love Penei Sewell, I've thought about this a lot, and my thoughts have kind of evolved since. So I love Penei, but if Sam is going to be the guy, I love the idea of trading back. Because you know what? George Fant, the right tackle of the Jets now, was signed to a 3-year deal worth a pretty good amount of money. He actually played pretty well considering the circumstances. I think a lot of the issues on the line are going to be more on the interior. I think if you trade back, you definitely have you'll definitely have a chance to take a guy like, let's say, Devontae Smith, who just won the Heisman, or, you could take, what's his name, Jamar Chase, who hasn't played in the past year. Or you could take a chance and go with Jalen Waddle, who, in my opinion, is the most explosive receiver in this draft. By far. I don't even think it's close. Or you can go ahead and maybe address, cornerback with that offensive line, or, maybe take a chance on a guard like Wyatt Davis from Ohio State. But trade back, give yourself 3 chances in the first round to hit on some other key positions, Travis Etienne included. I think so highly of Travis Etienne, and I think very high of Najee Harris as well. Like you mentioned, with Buffalo having that, that high-ranked run game with Frank Gore and Devin Singletary, imagine what he can do with Etienne or Najee Harris or one of these guys. Go get yourself an interior lineman for sure. Go grab yourself one of these receivers, and definitely go get yourself one of those studs at running back. And I think that's going to really define the identity of the team. You get a run-first team with a quarterback who excels at play action, to a downfield threat such as Waddle or Smith, Denzel Mims on the other side. Chris Herndon seemed to come along towards the end of the year, had a little bit of the yips for a while. But you can kind of tell where I'm getting, right? Build the team around what's going to be a run-first team, and then get your quarterback, really efficient in the play-action pass game. That's what made Ryan Tannehill really good. And I think that's, now that we're on that track, I can see it,
I
But
totally
again,
agree.
still got to talk about free agency as well, and that's not coming up until March. So a lot of this talk at the moment could be moot, but it's always good to scheme up these things, and talk about that. But overall, you think Brian Daboll can right the ship. You think he can be a really good head coach. You think that Sam Darnold will be the guy, and then you also think that number 2 in your case is Penei Sewell, and then in my case, trade back, accumulate picks and build around Sam Darnold.
I can definitely get behind the trade back as well, though. You know that.
Yeah.
I can definitely get behind that. I mean, always about getting more picks and building around your team. So
yeah, I mean, listen, free agency, you could take a swing on Allen Robinson or somebody.
Yeah,
take Sewell at 2 also. Having 2 really young bookend stud offensive tackles is definitely not a bad thing either. But is it going to be the end all be all and win you games and be a total difference maker? That's the question. So overall, Tom, thumbs up or thumbs down on Daboll? I agree. All right, that's going to do it for this coaching profile. Again, this is Umbro, Man in the Beanie, Tomo. It's been a really good time going over Brian Daboll with you guys. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe as well. Thank you guys so much, and have a great rest of your night. Peace.